How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. I've been asked to react to Microsoft All-In launching games on PS5, and this is a video by ITG Daily, and apparently they're going through an article that from an analyst, but is everything the analyst is saying true? So this is a react video. I'm not sure whether they agree with it or not, or if they're just going to regurgitate what the article says, but I've been asked to react to this, so let's do it. Let's go.
Microsoft may bring all their big games to PS5, says analysts. Eddie McCooch over at...
I mean, already, we're 6 seconds in, and we're already with the May. So, analysts are saying Microsoft may bring it, may not bring it, but they're releasing their, their periodic rage-inducing console warring article to make sure they get them clicks. Because until the analyst says Microsoft is 110% guaranteed without a shadow of doubt, and I am staking my career on this, that they are absolutely going to do this, and in fact, I'm betting my house, my car, everything I own, guaranteed that Microsoft is going to do this, they're full of shit. It is just the way it is. It is just another article. The moment they say May, the article's already dead. At least in my eyes, it's over. This article, I mean, I already made my mind up on how this is going to go, because this has been going on for a whole year, maybe even 2 now, if you really think about it. So they've always been going maybe, could be, should be, potentially, maybe if the stars align, maybe if aliens visit the planet, or maybe, if Mickey Mouse becomes prime minister or president or whatever. At this point, they're just fabricating anything they can because their lives are so full of shit. It doesn't really... They've got nothing else to write about.
Game. But here we go. According to a veteran video game industry analyst, 2025 could be the year that Microsoft goes all in on bringing its
It's gone from maybe to could be. The vocabulary is starting to propagate.
Xbox games to other platforms, including PlayStation 5. Microsoft, of course, has already begun to launch some games on rival platforms, but Stefan Toto of Catan Games believes Microsoft will lean further into that this year.
He believes. So is he willing to bet his house on that? I'm not. Is anyone in chat willing to bet their house that Microsoft is going to lean and go full slate in 2025? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Because I can tell you, if you presented Totan, or whatever this guy's name is, with that proposal, he would 110% say no. He's just writing an article because there's no news and he needs to get clicks.
Toto told GI Biz, which stands for Games Industry, if you're not aware of that, now Microsoft may opt to do this for a variety of reasons, including helping to pay for its massive buyout of Activision Blizzard. And
I mean, this is how you know he's already so uninformed that it's crazy. This isn't these guys. These guys are just regurgitating it, by the way. I'm talking about the analyst that's actually writing the article. When Microsoft spent that $70 billion, they didn't spend shareholders' money. So Microsoft, like any other company, holds pretty much, a little kiddie bank where they use for investments. It's just liquid cash sitting there ready to be spent that isn't part of the shareholders' money. This is basically just money, free money sitting there. Microsoft paid cash for that 70 billion. Sure, they want to see a return on their investment, but this isn't like a shareholder thing where the shareholders are saying we want this. No, because that money didn't come from the shareholders. This is just the investment kitty that is sitting there that is outside of that realm. So this investor, this analyst, doesn't even know what he's talking about. He is so misinformed that now he's just fabricating information. And already he's like, oh, there might be implied to do this because of this, when it's not even the case. I mean, don't get me wrong, Microsoft is obviously going to want a return on their investment. That's... you know what I mean? That's not a secret now, is it? But they don't owe it to anyone. That was like free money sitting there for investments that they could use as they see fit.
And the huge lead of PlayStation in the market. Quote, 2025 might be the year where they go all in, end quote, Toto said. Quote,
so Toto continues to go, might be, maybe, could be, should be. I mean, that's going to be, I'm guessing, the general theme of this, where this Toto guy is going to say a whole bunch of stuff, while it also means a whole bunch of nothing. Good job, Toto. Good job.
The $69 billion Activision Blizzard deal, rising costs across the board, and the power of forever titles, the huge lead of Sony, and other factors will likely leave Microsoft no choice but to bring all their big games to PS5 early, including blockbusters such as Gears of War E-Day or Perfect Dark, end quote. In the early 2024, Microsoft...
Is he willing to put money on that? Again, if he's so sure, I would really like him to bet his house on it. I would really take him up on that bet. Obviously, I'm not sure, so I'm not betting anything. This is going to be a one-sided bet, but my dude is so guaranteed about this. I'm curious to see if he's willing to put his job or his house on the line for this assumption or this statement that he's making that he believes to be 100% true.
Surprised some people by announcing some of its first-party games would launch on other platforms, including Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Hi-Fi Rush, and Pentiment. Even before this, though, Microsoft was already one of the biggest publishers on PlayStation and Switch thanks to the juggernaut Minecraft series. Call of Duty is now a Microsoft franchise too, and Microsoft continues to release the game on PlayStation platforms. One of the next big Xbox games to come to PlayStation is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which launches for PlayStation 5 in spring of 2025. Beyond this, there are ongoing rumors of a Halo Combat Evolved remastered project that could launch on PlayStation 5 in May. It was...
Mate, this whole video is going to be a could. So basically, Fable could launch, Gears of War could launch, Halo could launch, Forza could launch, Xbox controllers could launch, the Xbox dashboard could launch, Xbox Live could launch, Game Pass on PlayStation could launch, Steam could launch, Mario Odyssey could launch on PlayStation 5.
It was reported that Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella and CFO Amy Hood are mandating increasing margins at all divisions, including Xbox. At the time, it was...
And they are now the third largest department within Microsoft in their earnings, having leapfrogged Windows already by quite a margin. So I guess it's working. Activision Blizzard games are staying multi-plat like they should have anyway. It's too big of a platform to, a studio, the studios are too big in my opinion to just immediately remove them. I think they did the right thing, but let's see what's going to happen after that whole 10-year saga goes away and they go full cloud. That's going to be interesting after the 10-15 years.
Reported that Microsoft might look to release even more of its first-party games on PlayStation to help increase revenue. There is said to be an internal plan within Microsoft called Latitude that is focused on formulating...
Not said, there is a platform called Project Latitude. See, he's not even doubling down on the facts, on the things that are actually factual information here. This article that they're reading is pretty pointless at this point. It makes no sense. I mean, we know Project Latitude exists. It's come out from their internal documents. We know it exists. We know what it's there for. They used Project Latitude to decide what games they will deem that will be worth bringing over. Now, they talked about Indiana Jones, and as we've seen with Spider-Man, we don't even know if that game broke even yet in terms of the contract that it had with Marvel. Don't get me wrong, having sold 11 million units is an achievement on a single platform. You're looking at games like Resident Evil 4, which sold 9 million, I believe, and that's available on everything. So looking at Spider-Man, which sold 11 million on its own, I get it. Spider-Man is a way bigger franchise name than Resident Evil, so I'll give it that. I expected a few more sales personally, but you don't even know if it actually broke even, and realistically, you need if you're taking into consideration physical, digital, and bundled sales of the game that were being thrown out, realistically, you're looking about 12 to 13 million units before they actually would have broken even. The whole 7.2 or 7.5 million required to break even was purely based on digital. And as PlayStation fans will have you know, they don't buy digital, they buy physical, and they lost a lot when it came to physical, even more when it came to bundled games. So, I mean, they lost 50% of the value of the game entirely just on bundled games. So that's a lot of money that they were losing out on this because of that Marvel contract. In fact, based on what we've seen so far, just on the evidence alone, the actual contract for Marvel was so bad, and it seems that they didn't break even, that they had to cancel 3 of the DLCs that were coming in order to prioritize the PC port, in order to push it that bit further to make sure they step over the line so they don't have to pay a fine, because if they don't meet the requirements of that contract, they will be fined an additional 1 or 2 million or something like that, or is it $3-4 million? That's basically in the contract as a staple, so they have to hit those targets. And my assumption is here that they didn't hit those targets, just based on the evidence that's provided. Now, Indiana Jones on Xbox and PC, it is never going to hit those numbers, especially being a lesser franchise than Spider-Man. I love Indiana Jones, it's one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite franchises, but I'm not going to sit here and start saying that it's a bigger franchise than Spider-Man. That's just being stupid. That's being ludicrous. It's not going to happen. So if Spider-Man couldn't break that contract seal, I don't know what the contract Xbox had with Marvel, but if Spider-Man struggled that much to meet, and we're talking of, 11 million sales didn't do it, that's a lot of sales. And considering Game Pass subscriptions do not count for sales, even though that is still generating revenue for Microsoft, and that is going part of the money towards the studio, it's not going to hit that. So the fact that they're making that game multi-plat actually makes sense. That's actually called good business, right? Because they don't want to experience this position that Sony is in right now, where they're running between their legs, contradicting everything that they said and stand for, and basically saying, right, I know we said no games for 2-3 years, and now they're doing it in 1 year. That will, you see where I'm going with this. Why would you want to put yourself as a business into that position? You just wouldn't. So the smart play here from Microsoft was to do that. But that's logical sense that an analyst should be able to decipher. But this analyst seems to be wanting to pretty much tune it a little bit more and make it so that all he's trying to do is rage bait and clickbait and try to incite a console war that doesn't exist anymore. This Toto guy is pretty sad.
Planning plans to bring more first-party Xbox games to rival systems. Michael, it brings me way back to a little company called Sega. Because there are now no platforms in the world of Sega, and it is just a third-party company. Microsoft seems to be going the same way.
Yeah, I mean, if we go all in, if we get Gears of War on PlayStation, we get a Halo game on PlayStation, I think this kind of sends the alarm bells. Don't buy the next Xbox if you're a Microsoft guy. Yeah. Just buy the PlayStation 6, because it's basically been the better system over the last, I think, 2 generations. And you're going to get all those exclusive Xbox titles, and you're going to get the exclusive PlayStation titles that kind of already blow Xbox out of the water, since the Halo franchise has kind of just stopped producing and Gears of War took a long hiatus. The one thing I think I'm going to be very curious about is there going to be that delay, right? If they still have that 6-month delay like we're getting with Indiana Jones, they at least have something, right? But if we get day 1 PlayStation 5 Gears of War edict. See,
these guys now have gone on the complete, we're just going to look at it from one perspective, but we've already seen that Microsoft is moving into a more open, agnostic platform when it comes to their next Xbox, which is landing potentially next year in November, alongside releases with Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War, and other games. Potentially Blade as well. A lot of people seem to forget that Blade was scheduled for a 2026 release. That could be landing as a launch title for the next Xbox as well. But because it's going to be running Windows underneath at its core, it means that those if it is doing that, there's literally no reason why Steam won't be on there. Epic won't be on there. So while these guys are over here talking about how Xbox is going to be irrelevant because it's, if you get it on PlayStation, you'll have all of these games plus their exclusives. Well, all of those exclusives are going to PC, and there'll really be no way for Sony to restrict those PlayStation games unless they take them all off Steam, which they're not going to do, because we've already seen that when it comes to the PC Master Race, if it's not on Steam, the game just doesn't sell. And Sony releasing their own launcher isn't going to work. So, if they go down that route, well, as you can see already, Microsoft will have all of those PlayStation games that are on PC available to their consumers. So what's actually happening here is they're doing tick for tat. And if they're both delaying their games and doing the occasional day and date on their platforms, well, does it really thing? It just seems it's one-sided, this argument at the moment. And clearly they're not thinking about the both sides. But they did say about the delay, and the delay is important because for those people that don't want to wait 6 months to a year to play those games and want to play it right now, you've got the Xbox ecosystem where you can go and play it.
Okay. Day one Combat Evolved Remastered Halo on the PlayStation 5, never a reason to buy an Xbox ever again. So if there's that delay, I'll give them a little bit of a break. But man, they're just really telling people, kind of hit the nail on the head, why buy an Xbox anymore? Just buy a PlayStation. And how long is Xbox even going to be around as a console?
They've already said they're making a new console, a handheld, so they're going to be around for quite a while. So clearly these guys aren't very clued up on what, the gaming news overall, at least on the Xbox front. I'm guessing they're just looking at what the ponies are saying and pretty much going with that, or what the biased media is saying. Either way, choose your pick.
Yeah, just buy a PlayStation and have Game Pass. I think that's the deal, right? And then if you're just gonna have Game Pass, you don't necessarily even need an Xbox. You can play it on every device now around the world, pretty much. So it's not necessary. It really just isn't necessary anymore, it feels like. If you are an Xbox fan, right? So here's the one thing. More games in the hands of gamers is great. But if you're an Xbox diehard, you are dying on the inside. You're going to have to get used to the fact that all your games now are coming over to other platforms. And there isn't really anything wrong with that. The only problem being is there's no real reason to have a console for Xbox anymore. Because it is the Game Pass. Now, granted.
But doesn't that also apply to PlayStation with all of their games going to PC anyway? I was having this debate on Twitter, was it yesterday or the day before, where someone was saying, well, your games are on PC, so it doesn't matter. Well, so is PlayStation's games. So if you're a PC consumer, you're just getting everything by default anyway. You're laughing at it. So what's the reason? What? Because if you get it on one platform, you're going to get 3 months extra exclusivity or 6 months extra exclusivity. Sony's already looking at releasing their single player games day and date on PC anyways, and they're already looking at putting other games on other platforms. We've already seen Lego Horizon, and they've already said that they are going to do this more and more with games on a case-by-case basis. So they've themselves said that they are going to put their games on a case-by-case basis on other platforms. And they said PC and other platforms. This is their head, Hiroki Totoki, that said this. So what are these guys even talking about? Who's dying inside? These guys are still clinging on to this whole console war thing and this whole... Xbox has changed over time. Over the last 10 years, it's changed dramatically. Over the last 5 years, it's changed enormously. But if you look at the last 2 years, especially just the last year, the accelerated change from the moment the ABK deal closed has been astronomical. What Xbox was, pre-closing to post-closing now is a completely different beast. And a lot of people have moved on and are happy with the direction that it's going. Some are not. The Tims of this world are still clinging on to, whatever it is that they want to cling on to on this bridge that they want to die on. And, if you're listening to Fritanga, apparently the reason why he was removed is totally different, and the reason why he actually decided that he was going to go all crazy on social media had nothing to do with the direction that Xbox was going, more about the way they actually personally sent him a message and treated him, basically saying he was no longer needed. Take that as you will, I'm just a messenger here. But they're all going in the same way, it's just in a different way. I mean, right now you can go buy a PlayStation Portal and play PlayStation 5 games without a console. I'm just saying. So why are they so hell-bent on Xbox?
The console allows you to download the games, install them, and make sure that they are running top-notch, versus through the cloud, where you might get a little bit of lag, right? Where everything going over to PlayStation. Indiana Jones, dude, one of the best games of 2024. I really do wish it was in the Game of the Year combination.
It would have won Game of the Year
because it would have stood a chance. Where we take a look at 2025, dude, there's no chance. I'm sorry. As good as this game is, it is absolutely incredible. But the juggernaut of titles that are coming out in 2025 are absolute fire. So, getting back into the world of Xbox and then
you may be saying that, but right now they're not available, they're not out, you don't know what their state they're in, you don't know if the games are going to be any good, you're just going by the branding names. And sure, there's a lot of big hitters that are coming, but right now Indiana Jones is the best game for 2025's Game of the Year. Right now, at this point in time, it 100% is. There's nothing better than it.
Transforming these games over to PlayStation, man, it's going to be an interesting 2025. Right? If let me ask you this. If Microsoft didn't buy Activision Blizzard and had this $69 billion pay hanging over their head of, hey, we need to get this revenue back, would we be getting these games on PlayStation still?
I think we'd still be getting, I guess for the lack of a better word, the lesser titles, right? See if...
I agree with that. I think the plan was always there, but it wouldn't have been as aggressive. I still think that they would have done it. ABK just accelerated that move. Tim Stewart himself said, ABK has allowed us to accelerate our plans by 10 years. They did 10 years worth of work in 1 year, right? That's, overnight, they accelerated their plans by 10 years, and they were already on year 11 when we should have been on year 1. That transition period, which is why it rocked so many people. So it may have always been, like I was telling Nibs the other day, in my opinion, it was always the plan for Microsoft. After the Xbox One disaster, which it was a disaster, there's no real way of hiding that, Connect and the DRM and everything, it was just a really bad move. And them coming out going TV, which today would have actually worked really, really well. They were just too early for their time. But the messaging for the Xbox One was really bad. The DRM, always online, and the memes of, well, if you don't have internet, you've always got the Xbox 360. That will never stop haunting them. It was a low point, and at that point Microsoft even considered killing off the Xbox brand, and it was Phil Spencer who stepped in and then came up with the whole Game Pass model and sold it off to the board, and they were happy with it. So to me, that was always kind of the plan, and Phil Spencer has said repeatedly, wherever Game Pass exists, that's where the games will be. Now that statement is really important. I know that's recently changed because you've now seen games on PlayStation, but Phil Spencer wanted Game Pass on PlayStation. Phil Spencer wants Game Pass on Nintendo's eShop. Phil Spencer wants Game Pass everywhere. He's integrated it into GeForce Now. He wants integration into Steam, which Gabe has already said he's willing to do. They just need to work out the deals, right? And that's the point. Phil Spencer, even from back then, wanted Game Pass everywhere, because that's what makes sense to him. As a business, having your games out to more people is where you're going to make the most revenue. Now they're doing the cloud approach with the TVs. Samsung's exclusivity period is gone, so now they've got LG TVs, and other TVs are going to come forth with this as well. So yes, to me, it was always the plan. It was just going at a snail pace. Now it's full on, full steam ahead, and with these new OEM hybrid PCs consoles that are coming, you can clearly see what they're doing and opening up pretty much every channel. In fact, with the new Xbox, if it does become with the underlying Windows underneath, and as a consumer you're going to have the Xbox OS, you'll see no difference, but you'll have the option to go into Windows if you really want to and install those other launchers to be able to play them, because the guts of the machine is going to be a PC. At that point, why would that Xbox be inferior to a platform that can only play one set of games when I can now play pretty much everything, including PlayStation games?
Stuff like that. I don't think we'd be getting Gears of War. I don't think we'd be having rumors of a Halo game.
I mean, they're not getting Gears of War. There's nothing, no one has come out and said Gears of War or Halo is going there. I know Paris keeps saying it's going to happen. I know James Corden says it's going to happen, but no one has actually officially come out. And if they do, fine. That's the end of the debate. We're going back to the whole Wukong debate where Sony could come out and say, hey guys, listen, we did not money hack the game. That did not happen. We had nothing to do with what Game Science is doing. We're going back to that debate again. Microsoft hasn't come out and said anything. They can, but they're choosing not to. It's the same situation here. But at the end of the day, there's been no confirmation from Microsoft to say these tentpole titles are going. Even Starfield has yet to go. But yet, they might be coming. They might be going. They could be going. I mean, that's literally all these guys are saying. And at the end of the day, it makes for... it's the term that Jez used back then, which instantly picked up and everyone was using it for a while. This whole video is a nothing burger. This whole thing is just nothing. No disrespect to these guys. I get they're making a video, and it's the article was pointless in itself, but kudos to them for getting it out there. But at the end of the day, the way that they're looking down on Xbox just seems to be a little one-sided, and you can see that they kind of want it to happen rather than are they looking at this with an objective mind, and clearly they're not.
If it wasn't that $69 billion bill, as you said, right? I think Microsoft...
And that $69 billion bill, again, is not a bill. It was liquid money that was sitting there that was free for investment and investment only. And that is different from shareholder investment. That money doesn't get paid to shareholders. That money doesn't go to shareholders. That money doesn't get invested by shareholders. That is a kitty that they have there that is ready for them to invest. And of course, they want a return of investment on that. But that money is separate from what is everything else. That is isolated. That is money that they can do whatever they want with. And again, they're just not picking up on that. Neither is the analyst, by the way, because he made that statement as well.
Realize, right? PlayStation is beating us at the console war. Really, it's not even a console war anymore. PlayStation has won. Put your game on PlayStation eventually. You're going to make more money. But the fact they got that big bill to pay, that...
I mean, Phil Spencer came out ages ago and said, they've lost the console wars, there is no console wars. End of story. Why do they keep going on about that? It's so weird.
That's why we're getting the big guns that are going to be moving to PlayStation.
And again, they still think that 70 billion is chargeable. Well, it looks like that's the end of the video. But yeah, I think this was a bunch of hopium, and a bit of a... How can I say? So much could-be's and should-be's and would-be's and maybes and potentiallys and might-be's. But there's no real information there. And it's just speculation, once again. A whole video on speculation, really. I mean, we all speculate, but this one has been beaten around the bush so much that at this point, you don't even see Puerto Rock doing this sort of video. It's dead and buried. Until it actually materializes now, no one really cares. Well, maybe King does, but outside of him and his apple-eating ways, he does love that gif. But outside of, him, I think everyone is at the point now where they're tired of hearing the media say maybe, could be, should be, maybe, all this rubbish, where they're not willing to stake their career on the line to say that it is happening. And until that happens, I don't think anyone cares anymore. Well, maybe a few. But the majority just don't, and they're waiting to see what happens. Meanwhile, I'm super excited to see this new interface that Jason Ronald has talked about in the CES yesterday, because that's going to unify the new Xbox, the handhelds, and the PCs together to give you a simultaneous experience without ever having to worry about what you're doing, which is awesome. That means that I can play all my Xbox games on all of the platforms. And the one question that they said, why would you need an Xbox? Well, I've got a huge Xbox library. I want to play that library. I can't play that library on my PlayStation. I can't play that library on my handheld. I can't play that library on my PC. I can only play that library on my Xbox. I can only play that library on my next Xbox. So there is definitely 100% valid reasons for owning an Xbox. They just don't want to admit it or say it because, let's face it, Xbox bad, Xbox tax. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next one. As always, remain legend.